It's painful to fall in love with a TV series, only to see it sputter and fail as it moves along towards its conclusion. And it's more common than it ought to be. Today, my top 10 science fiction and fantasy shows on television over the years that ended badly. Even the mighty can fall. Hi, I'm Jim, and welcome to Fantasy for the Ages, the show where a father and son talk about fantasy, science fiction, horror, and other nerdy things that my son Zach and I like to talk about. Today, I'm flying solo, no Zach, but I've got a hot list for you that I think you're going to enjoy. Before we dive in, make sure you like this episode. And if it's your first time here, be sure to subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell so that you don't miss any of our upcoming content. And a huge thanks to our Patreon supporters. We really couldn't do this without you. If you'd like to check out our Patreon and see what sort of perks come your way for being part of our Fantasy for the Ages community, check out the link down in the show notes. Now, let's talk about TV shows. Specifically 10 science fiction and fantasy shows that I loved when they started, but by the end, I walked away so disappointed. These are all shows that I watched to the very end. I never gave up on them. But man, I question, maybe I should have. These endings left me shaking my head. I've ranked them here from bottom to top, my top 10 list. So I start with, just a little disappointing, to what the heck did I just watch at that grand finale? And I really want to hear from you, because you may agree, you may disagree, or you may have a few more to add, so don't forget that comment box. Okay, let's get into it. Number 10 on my list is Star Trek Enterprise. 4 seasons long, 98 episodes. Yeah, back then they did a lot of shows in every season. This was 2001 to 2005. This is a prequel series of the Star Trek universe before Star Trek Discovery decided to try to be a prequel, and this is even before that. It's exploring humanity's earliest deep space missions and the founding of the Federation. Captain Jonathan Archer and his crew blaze a trail where no human had gone before. The show is praised for Scott Bakula's charm as Captain Archer. I'd already known him on Quantum Leap, and now I was like, oh, he's so good at this. Of course, he goes on to do NCIS later. NCIS New Orleans. Fantastic. Anyways, he was great here. We also get a fresh look at Starfleet's earliest years. That was cool. And the show had solid production design and effects, as we've come to appreciate and expect from the Star Trek franchise. But the series never hit warp speed like the other Star Trek shows. It always felt a bit uneven. And then that finale? One of the most infamous letdowns in Trek history. The crew deserved far better than its final episode to be a holodeck simulation. What a cop-out! Number 9, The X-Files. Don't yell at me! Come on. There were 11 seasons, 218 episodes. The original run, 1993 to 2002, and then it came back 2016 to 2018. FBI agents Mulder and Scully investigate paranormal cases, uncovering alien conspiracies, government secrets, and the occasional monster of the week. This show was fantastic in so many ways. The iconic leads had fantastic chemistry. The creepy, inventive storytelling was brilliant. It was a genre-defining blend of sci-fi and horror, mystery and fantasy. It had a little bit of everything, and that was so good. But as we moved to the end, well, that end was so far away. The show just kept going well past what really should have been its natural lifespan. And then answers that were endlessly teased throughout its run were never really delivered. Some fans appreciated that, thought it was very appropriate for X-Files. Most of us were just left frustrated and fatigued by the end. Number 8, Supernatural. 15 frickin' seasons of this show because the fans demanded it. 327 episodes. This ran from 2005 to 2020. Brothers Sam and Dean Winchester travel America fighting monsters, demons, angels on occasion, and the apocalypse several times. This show benefited incredibly from its lead actors, particularly Jared Padalecki and Jensen Ackles. You see their characters when you think of these actors now. It was perfect. Also, the show brought a mix of horror, humor, and heart. Really hit well. And because of all that, it built this rabid, loyal fan base. It was only going to run 5 seasons, and they demanded more, so the writers said, let's give them more. But 15 seasons, that turned out to be a lot. Eventually, the stories felt stretched too thin, and the ending could not live up to such an epic journey. Sometimes shorter really is sweeter. Number 7 on this list is Once Upon a Time. 7 seasons, 156 episodes, running from 2011 to 2018. In this show, you got fairy tale characters trapped in our world under a curse, weaving familiar stories into modern settings. What a clever mashup of fairy tales, folklore, and modern day challenges. This was fresh and cool. I remember when it first came out, I'm like, well, what do I want with a show like that? But then I tried it and I'm like, oh, this is great. Well, particularly the first season. The first season was really strong, full of intrigue, and there were great performances from a big ensemble cast, but the show was dazzling at first, got tangled up in its own web of twists, reboots, and recycled ideas as it went along. By the end, it was a pale shadow of the dazzling premise that was absolutely magical. Once Upon a Time. Number 6, Stargate Universe. Only 2 seasons of this show, 40 episodes, running 2009 to 2011. This was the final series coming out in the Stargate franchise, which I thoroughly enjoyed all the way through. But here, we got a group of soldiers and civilians becoming stranded aboard an ancient ship far across the universe, struggling to survive as they seek a way home. Now, that's kind of a premise that's been done before, but this is the Stargate universe. We could do something cool, right? And it started out cool, but it was darker than the other Stargates, more character-driven. It had impressive visuals and the spaceship design. I mean, this had all really advanced from where Stargate began, so you got some stellar stuff happening here now. And it was a high-stakes survival drama. We wanted to know, how are they going to get out of this? What is going to happen? Unfortunately, it was canceled before its story could properly conclude. It had its fans, but it didn't build up enough energy to maintain. So the fans it did have were left unresolved. They left us dangling here. We got no proper finish to this show. It had promise, but just as you really get into where it's going, that's all she wrote. Too bad. Number 5, one of the best of all time, with one of the most infamous endings, Lost. 6 seasons, 121 episodes, running from 2004 to 2010. Survivors of a plane crash on a mysterious island face monsters, time travel, and cryptic conspiracies. This show was a phenomenon of its time. It had addictive mysteries, shocking cliffhangers, a groundbreaking serialized format for network TV that had everybody talking around the water coolers, as they say. Strong ensemble performances rounded out just an incredible, stellar show. Honestly, it was the phenomenon that Game of Thrones became before such a thing was even thought of. Why were we disappointed, though? Well, there was a mid-series writer's strike. I guess they had a right to go on strike, but it really hurt this show. Crushed its momentum, gave us a truncated season when it finally came out, and the show never hit its stride again. Then the ending, they had to figure out how to land the plane, and I don't know, did they not have this plotted out right, or did they have to change it because of things that happened during the writer's strike? But they ended up leaning way too hard into mysticism without satisfying the countless mysteries they'd laid out, they'd tried to unpack. For many of us, it just got too weird and left too many threads dangling. Disappointing. Number 4, a show I mentioned briefly earlier, Quantum Leap. 5 seasons, 97 episodes, running from 1989 to 1993. Dr. Sam Beckett leaps through time, inhabiting other people's bodies to set right what once went wrong. Scott Bakula again. Previously on Star Trek Enterprise, I mentioned him, Now, this isn't earlier, this is the first time I ever saw Scott Bakula, and he was an endearing lead performer here. The show was creative, it was emotionally resonant, and it was great storytelling. The show brought us a mix of humor, heart, and moral dilemmas that landed really well with the audience. Overall, the series was wonderful. There really was nothing wrong with this show until the very freaking last episode, where they pulled the rug out from under us. Fans felt betrayed by an ending that gave Sam no closure and no reward for all his sacrifices. The story behind the story is this was potentially not going to be the end, and then at the last minute the show gets canceled, so wrap it up! And they do it with an end note displayed on the screen. Shocking, sad, and way worse than the show deserved. All right, let's go to number 3. These are big ones now. Game of Thrones. You cannot be surprised that this is on the list. 8 seasons, 73 episodes, running 2011 to 2019. Noble houses battle for control of the Iron Throne, while dark forces gather beyond the wall. Stunning production values, an epic scope, the best fantasy production that had come to television. And again, this is running right after the completion of Lost, so people are hungry for this kind of content coming out on a weekly basis again. They ate it up. The complex characters, the shocking twists, the amazing stories that are being brought to the screen like nothing before it on television. It was a cultural juggernaut at its peak. Unfortunately, that peak was well before the end, because season 8, it's infamous. Rushed pacing, baffling character decisions, unsatisfying payoffs. Horrible is putting it kindly. It's one of the biggest collective disappointments in television history. If you like season 8, what are you drinking? Number 2, Heroes. 4 seasons, 77 episodes, running 2006 to 2010. Ordinary people discover they have extraordinary powers, with their fates intertwined in saving the world. The slogan, "Save the cheerleader, save the world," became iconic. This was a phenomenon that came out of nowhere. No one really saw it coming. That strong first season, intriguing characters, great mystery, sucked people in. It was a bold attempt at comic book storytelling on primetime television that worked. But after season 1, the magic fizzled. Plot lines meandered, characters lost direction. The show suffered from really bad writing after that initial season, and the series collapsed under its own weight. But with all of those, what could be number 1? Now, there's a little objectivity to this, people, because what I love the most is weighed against how far it falls. Game of Thrones could have been here, Heroes could have been here, but this is the one that hits the most for me. The greatest disappointment was Fringe. 5 seasons, 100 episodes, running 2008 to 2013. A special FBI division investigates strange, often science-defying phenomena, uncovering conspiracies across parallel universes. This was brilliant for its first 2 seasons. Freaking incredible. The mysteries, the mind-bending sci-fi. The cast was so strong. John Noble, Anna Torv, Joshua Jackson, magic on the screen. And then this inventive blend of procedural television with an overarching plot running through it all. Wow. I was sucked in hard. The show, however, slowly unraveled after that second season. The 3rd season was a little shaky. The 4th season dragged. And the 5th season, well, that was completely different and unnecessary. I did not need season 5 at all. Most of us were like, why? What began as a brilliant piece of television ended in a very sad whimper. So there you have it. My top 10 science fiction and fantasy TV shows that ended badly. What do you think? Did I get it right? Do you disagree with some of these strongly? Let me know in the comments. Would you have changed the order? Talk to me about it. Are there other shows that were more deserving to be on the top 10 of worst science fiction and fantasy endings on TV? Let me have it. I love that kind of dialogue. You know it. And if you're new here, you'll be surprised maybe I still reply to everybody who comments. Check the show notes also for other ways you can interact with my son Zach and I, an invitation to our Discord server, links to our social media sites, even our email. And of course, shout out again to our Patreon supporters. That's another great way people can interact with my son and I. Thanks again for watching. Glad you were here. We'll talk to you next time.